What's going on, Jets fans? Welcome to episode 56 of the Wednesday live stream. How you doing, James?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I am good. It's nice to be here talking Jets again. And for everybody that's tuning in right now, thank you for being here. There's a poll up. Go ahead and vote on that. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. We're going to go through a bunch of topics tonight. We got a Rangers game tonight at 8:15. Or I guess it's at 8:30. Is it start at 8:30?
It starts at 8 o'clock, but they do all that pregame stuff. So face off is probably not going to be till like 8:15 or so.
Well, as you can see, James is pretty excited, so he'll be leaving us so he can watch that game, which is perfectly good and acceptable. What's going on? I got a couple of people from Facebook checking in. Thanks, guys. And yeah, so we're going to start off the show with mailbag and with comments. So if you guys want to go ahead and load up your comments, tell us exactly what's on your mind regarding the New York Jets. It could also just be off-season fodder. You know, if you've got like I don't know what the word is I'm looking for here, but basically like some sort of random thing that comes to your mind as far as like prognosticating what the Jets are going to be like in 2022. We're all ears for anything that you guys come up with. But like I said, we've got topics, we've got mailbags, and we're going to go right to that. Let's go to the very first one. And Afram is pretty excited about the Rangers jersey that you're rocking right now. So I imagine that we probably have a few Ranger fans who watch the show. So it's not a surprise that people are pretty hyped up. All right. This is the first mailbag. It's something we've talked a lot about, but we'll talk about it a little bit more. This is from Nick, and he says, if the Jets sign Kwoun Alexander, what do you think the deal would be and how much? So years, contract, so how many millions of dollars is he going to make? What do you think? I have a number in mind.
Yeah, I had a small number came to mind. I think if they make a deal with him, I think it would be something in like one for 4.5. 4.5 is kind of the number that came to mind. Maybe incentives up to $5 million, but I think it would be probably in that ballpark there.
Good, and that's pretty much what I am thinking as well. Somebody had said 1 year, 3 million, and I'm thinking that's definitely on the lower end. I don't know how you can get him possibly any cheaper than that. But it will not break the bank because he's sitting here, right? He's been waiting for an opportunity. The cost wherever he goes is going to be very, very low and manageable. This is interesting, and it would surprise me because Joe Douglas is the 1 year connoisseur. He loves to hand out those 1 year contracts, but thoughts on potentially bringing him in for 2 years? I personally don't see them doing that, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the 2 years unless it's structured in a way to where the Jets can wind up getting out after year one with no consequence for year two. Maybe they say, all right, listen, maybe it works, but you also kind of look at it from the player's perspective, right? If he signs a 1 year deal, he's free in that next year. If Kwoun Alexander has a big year, he hits the market, he can make himself some more money. So not only just the Jets aspect of that, but I think Kwoun Alexander wouldn't want to be tied in for potentially 2 years as well.
And that's exactly right. Why would he take 2 years if he busts, or excuse me, not if he busts, if he does the opposite of busts and breaks out a little bit? You're right. He's going to want more money. And so, yeah, I would suspect 1 year deal. Not trying to crap all over you, Joe, here. I think there's nothing wrong with it. And if we could manage to get him for 2.6, I think it's awesome for us. And it would likely be one of those scenarios where you could get out after the first year anyway, so it wouldn't matter. All right, cool. We got the show warmed up here, and we're getting loose. Go to the next mailbag here, and this is from Grant Rude. He just submitted this, just a few minutes ago, actually. So and by the way, I never remember to say this at the beginning. You guys can submit your mailbags on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, and I really need to start doing it on Facebook, and I keep forgetting to, but lo and behold, we've got a couple anyway. So here's Grant Rudes, and he says, I want to catch the hype bug for the Jets. Unfortunately, as everyone is aware, I typically sit in a prove me wrong state. How do you stay level-headed as fans? And I believe he means content creators. Do you find it difficult to not lean one way or the other? And then he also asks, what has you high on the Jets and what has you low on the Jets? So it's a multi-layered question. Why don't you go spin at it a little bit, James? Let me hear what you have to say. on any of that. And I'll leave it up just in case you want to reread any of it.
Yeah, no, I think. Well, I kind of like what Grant Root said there with the prove me wrong state. I'm actually trying to get a little bit on that end of things as I like continue doing this stuff, because it obviously just feels like every year we're so, we get to such a high and then nothing really happens, or nothing good actually happens, and so you wonder why you continuously do it over again. And so, the hype bug, I think we'll go through some predictions, and we'll probably show that we have that side of us, because we're just passionate fans as well, right? I mean, all of us want to see them do really good, and what's the harm in being optimistic around this time of the year. So ultimately, I mean, staying level headed, you understand that there's a lot of teams that are better than the Jets right now, as at football. That's just kind of the way it is. And so you stay level headed knowing that, yeah, they'll make progress, but how far can they actually take this thing this year, right? There's going to be a limit to that. And high on the Jets, I think the real strong point to be excited about the Jets, and probably something we have never really seen, is there's the potential there for like a high flying offense, right? I'm not saying it's gonna happen this year, but the potential is there for like points, touchdowns, like for them to get with the times of the NFL, and they're, these guys just putting up a ton of points. So I think the high there is we have the chance to finally watch an offense that could just potentially score from any point on the field. And what has you low? I think the division, in a
Mm.
sense, has me a little bit low, because I mean, Buffalo is probably head and shoulders right now above us. And you can really, we talk about the Patriots right now, but what's to say they all of a sudden just don't become, what they are every single year, once the season turns on. So I think the division is tough, and that's kind of, what makes it difficult, is it just feels like we don't have a chance to actually win the division. Like that seems to be out the window. We have to find a way to create success otherwise.
Yeah, great answers by you, by the way. That you probably stole the best answer as far as the low on the Jets part, which is the AFC East. I feel
Mhm.
like a lot of fans want to just crap on the AFC East opposing teams just because we hate them.
Right.
And I feel like we're almost forced to recognize that they do have good football players. The Patriots just won 10 football games last year, and I know a lot of us are hoping that we overtake them. Certainly, I'm not suggesting that we don't want that. But they won 10 football games, and Mac Jones was a rookie quarterback. And Bill Belichick, as much as I hate him, he's still doing a really good job in the most part, coaching that football team and having them ready to play on most Sundays. And then you take a look at the teams that are probably better, that have better rosters, the Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills, as you mentioned. So yeah, that's the low for me. What has me high is exactly like you said as well. I would say that the opportunity for us to have not just a aerial attack, not just a ground attack, like a true balanced offense, which to me, when you say balanced offense, it doesn't sound all that intimidating. But in my book, that is the most intimidating offense, is one that can kill you on the ground and through the air. Um, they're not ready for, the prime time, the big lights yet, in my opinion. They're still not ready for the playoffs. So some of this is still going to have to, there's still going to be some learning that happens this year. But overall, I feel really excited to be able to watch the offensive players because it's a long list of proven commodities. It's not just, young players that were drafted. We're looking at guys who are entering their second, third year, in the NFL, and then even the veterans that we've brought in. Laken Tomlinson's a Pro Bowler of last year. Conklin, almost 600 yards receiving as a tight end last year. So there's a number of guys that you can get really excited about for the offense. And then lastly, this is the best part. This is what Matt Morris said. It's the psychology of a Jets fan, which is why I love the question. I am again thrice times in a row going to agree with you. I'm also trying to be more level-headed with the Jets because it doesn't really benefit me necessarily. Because you're right, being a fan is being a fan, and you should be excited for your team to even just improve from the year prior. Like that's what we all want, is just to see the team get better. Uh, so I guess the point I want to make is I don't want to just go completely off the handles because I kind of did that last year. I won't short or what's the word I'm looking for here. I'm not going to give myself the benefit of the doubt, that I didn't prognosticate us to win 8 or 9 games last year. I did. I said that, and it was not very well predicted by me. And so I'm trying to do better with that. And I think that the more the level-headed approach this year is still 7 to 8 wins to me. I think that's really the ceiling. I don't see us getting into the postseason. So there you go. There's the short. Excuse me, that's the long answer that you were probably looking for, Grant. But it's an excellent question, and I wanted to give it the time that it deserved. We've got one more mailbag, and then we will get into some more OTA discussion. And I have a couple of videos actually that I'll show. This one goes into the first topic of the night. And I didn't want to skip it because I want to let him know that we're going to answer this question, but it's in another segment of the show. So ranking players offensively and defensively. And we have a segment on players that we think can make the Pro Bowl this year. And most of those players are going to be in that discussion. So I hope you realize that we will be talking about that, but just in a little bit of a different way. Let's go to this one. And it's the OTAs. Anything that you saw this week in coverage or even today, because they were working today, they were being interviewed today. Anything that stood out to you from those press conferences or just from the footage that we saw?
Yeah, I think one of the things that stuck out to me, and I think maybe DJ tweeted it, but he said the defense really competed today against the offense, and potentially maybe even won the day when they're doing 7-on-7s and 11-on-11. But and the reason I think that's important is because when you don't have any pads on, the offense has such an advantage. And so, to be able to win in those type of situations, right? If it's a one-on-one, you got wide receiver, cornerback, such things of that nature, because you're really not doing anything, running wise. So you're more so on air, passing game concepts, playing the zone, playing man coverage. And so for them to have a good day, I think is a good sign on June 1st, as good of a sign you can have on June 1st. It's just, they have more guys that can compete. DJ Reed spoke a lot today about the wide receiver core, and then also what he thought about, Sauce Gardner out there. And so I would say the defense right now, big story, as big of a story you can have on June 1st, just that they look a whole lot better right now.
Yes, and that will be something that we're going to refer to in just 2 seconds. I have a couple of comments that I want to get to. I appreciate that support, Grant Rude. I kind of I criticize myself a little bit. I'm not thin-skinned. I thought that I jumped the gun last year, but it's okay. I'm willing to learn. I was very excited though. All right, Steven Klickner. He says, "Will the Jets have a better record than the Jags this year?" We'll do this one, and then we'll get back into the OTA discussions. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they better have a better record than the Jaguars. I mean, they have the last 2 years, so and we get to play them again. It feels like we play them every year. I don't know if that's some kind of scheduling thing, but we play them again this year. I just think the Jets took another step this offseason, and I don't know how much the Jaguars actually did there. So I think they very well better have a better record than the Jaguars at the end of this year.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that, they made some improvements this offseason. They were very aggressive. It'll be interesting to see if it all pans out for them. Matt Morris says he's all in on this Jets team, playoffs, and there's nothing wrong with that. I hope you understand. Got a lot of people talking about the Rangers. There's some people upset in the chat, actually, not happy that you're wearing that Rangers jersey, which is funny, actually.
Yeah, Steven Engel has been giving it to me for like the last 6 minutes or so.
All right. All right. So here's the first video from the OTAs that I wanted to play, and it's from DJ Reed. You alluded to it, and people are talking about it in the chat about DJ Reed, some of the things that he said. Here's the first clip.
What are your overall impressions of what this secondary can be?
I'm excited. I think it's special. I think we have the guys to do more than just get the job done, but I think we could dominate. As far as the cornerback group, because that's who I'm with the most, I feel like this is the best group that I've been a part of just from so far right now, so I'm excited.
So there you go. Feels like this is one of the best groups he's ever been a part of. Sorry, the music's on. uh, so what are any thoughts on that? Because I feel like that's a bold thing to say, and maybe when we reflect back to 2021, that was like the position group. We were like, man, this position group's not all that great, but they were better than what we expected. And now they've made a huge overhaul to that room, like really, really big. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, Sauce changes everything, and DJ Reed, he's gonna make plays. I mean, he's on one of my lists here that we're gonna do in a few minutes, but obviously, he brings that veteran experience, right? He's a little bit of a smaller guy, so he's gonna get his hands on footballs, the whole thing, but. Sauce takes it to that next level with his kind of size and his ability to play man coverage, that press coverage. It kind of frees up a lot of other guys. And, obviously, and Salah said that he has to earn that spot. So Bryce Hall has been playing that number one corner or number two corner, however you want to kind of judge it there. But he's obviously going to earn that spot. That's kind of just a formality, right. In my opinion. But, to have a guy like Bryce Hall be that number three, and it's a second year of a Michael Carter, the second in the slot, who probably had a little bit better of a year than maybe we're giving him credit for as a late round rookie that just got thrown into it with no one else around him, really. Brandon Eccles, he showed he could play a little bit. So it's a very deep group, and they added really potentially two high level players to man those first two spots. So I don't know roster wise what DJ Reed has played with before, but I would say, I don't think he was there when Richard Sherman was in Seattle, but I don't know who else they had in Seattle while he was there last year, but
Jamal
probably
Adams.
probably not the caliber corner, that Sauce has the potential to be. And then, probably, I guess the spot that we're missing is that who's going to be that free safety. LaMarcus Joyner seems to potentially have that spot, but who is that, a year from now?
Yeah. I'm very excited to hear him talking that confidently. That's my big takeaway. Is just I'm happy that they've got some swagger, not just with Sauce Gardner, who comes in automatically swagger because he's got or swaggy because he's got that nickname. But these guys are like really, really, they're feisty. I feel like, which is what you want in your DB room. Robert Saleh talked about it after the practice that they had today and in his presser, how he is like potentially the hardest working player on the entire team. And I'm sorry, I didn't mention his name, DJ Reed. DJ Reed is that guy that they brought in, and they feel like he brings a whole new mentality to that room, just super hyper focused and aggressive and everything that they want. All gas, no brake. Like I've been talking about how, some of our defensive linemen are all gas, no brake. Jermaine Johnson's that guy. I think that he really epitomizes it. DJ Reed does. Like that's he fits the mantra very well, I think. And when you listen to Saleh talk about it, that is exactly what I think. That's what comes to my mind, is he is a living, breathing embodiment of what they want the Jets team to be all about. So, all right, we will move. I have another video here. I'll play this one, and then we will move on. If you have anything else you want to talk about on the OTAs, we can definitely do it. Here's Jordan Whitehead.
How good do you think this? I mean, DJ Reed was talking about the secondary be dominant. So, from your perspective, how good can the secondary be? Pieces?
I think it'd be like one of the best secondaries I've been a part in 5 years because these guys are hungry. I know DJ coming from a different team, he's bringing his mindset, and he's a leader. Like he's been in the league 5 years. He's a leader, and we got a young guy, Sauce on the outside, and Bryce. But those guys are big corners, physical corners. And then the safety room, we got a lot of depth with me, Jason Pinnock, LaMarcus Joyner, Ashton, Elijah, Moffitt, Will Parks. I don't want to miss anybody. TA. It's a lot of depth, and it's still a young group. And when I first got in the league, I was with a young group, and it's a lot of learning to do. But as you get like a couple of veterans in there to teach something with a great coach that we have like M and Brick, it's I'm learning a lot in 2 weeks. I've been here learning a lot.
I love the part talking about teaching the younger players what they want, like what the coaches want. And that's one of the reasons why we talked so much about Richard Sherman last offseason. I don't know if you recall, we were talking about, the idea of potentially bringing him in. A lot of people liked that idea, and it was for that reason specifically. Like that, I think is something that some people do not buy into, and I think it's very, very important that you have good leaders and veteran leaders on your football team. I always try to connect it to my job, which is teaching. And if I didn't have veteran teachers to rely on early in my career, I mean, you can burn out, you can struggle, and you don't want to do that job anymore because you don't have anybody that can really help you to learn. And so it's really no different for a football player to have that person to rely on and say, like, look, I just don't freaking get this part, like, of what I'm supposed to be doing. And they can tell you. What are your thoughts on what he said, and just that whole idea of having true, teachers that are playing on the team?
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I mean, for both DJ Reed and Jordan Whitehead, and maybe I'm missing a couple other guys also, but just like the detailed answers that they're giving and that we're seeing in the OTAs, like I feel like that's another part of it, right? Because they're probably subconsciously also trying to show these young guys that, hey, listen, we're the leaders in the room and we're confident in you, right? We believe, he mentions Pinnock, he mentions a guy like Will Parks, right? They're not headline guys over the league, but he's saying as a group that it matters as a group, and all of us can do certain things really well. Some of us don't do certain things very well, but as a group, we can get the job done. So it's really interesting to see the detailed answers that he gave. I know Mike LaFleur gave a pretty detailed one earlier today as well, kind of on the passing concepts and the progression for the quarterback. So it's really cool to just see, these guys, these young guys, they're now getting that example that they didn't have last year. They just really didn't have it, obviously, other than maybe a guy like George Fant or Morgan Moses or, a Connor McGovern. But realistically, it was such a young group that, they really didn't have that example to even show you, hey, when you get up to the podium, this is kind of how you present yourself, and kind of give answers. So it's really cool to see the Jets have that to for them to kind of come together and have that kind of connection with the fans and media and stuff like that as well.
Awesome. Well said. And good evening to you, Andrew. All right, we've got one more question, and then we will go to our next topic. And the next topic is the one that I mentioned earlier, and it's the potential, ranking of Pro Bowl caliber players. I'm kind of excited about this one. I kind of just thought of it, in likelihood that they make make the Pro Bowl. And so here's the question that I'll read, and then we'll move to that. This is again from Steven. Thank you again, Steven. You've been very active, and I really appreciate that. That makes it a lot of fun for us. He says, which Jets receiver gets the most yards this year? We have some speedy guys. Can't wait to see them eat. For me, I keep saying it. I think it should be, and I think it will be Elijah Moore. I just think that he's going to play the most out of the whole receiver room, even more than maybe Corey Davis this year. What say you?
Yeah, Elijah Moore there. And did he lead us in receiving last year?
I don't think so. I think Corey Davis. You talking about Corey or
no,
Elijah?
Elijah.
I think
Can we
Corey
get the chat on that?
Oh no, not Corey. It wasn't Corey, because Corey only had like 500 yards because he got hurt. Chat. He just challenged you. Who was the leading receiver for the New York Jets last year?
I'm not sure why I feel like it was Elijah Moore, but
now that I think about it, it could be.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Elijah Moore just because. Yeah, you're right. I think he sees a whole lot of targets in this offense and kind of that second year with Zach. So I'm gonna go with Elijah Moore.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the best players should be getting peppered with targets. They shouldn't be like going games where they get 2 looks the entire football game. And I think Elijah Moore is the kind of guy that needs to have a number of opportunities to get his hands on the football. And it doesn't just have to be, deep passing or whatever. We get him involved in all levels of the football field. So that's just my personal thing. And I agree. I think it should be Elijah Moore this season. Jim Pock, good to see you in the chat. Haven't seen you in a while. We got one more comment here. Marist Old Boys. He says, Carl Lawson and Elijah Moore are my picks to make the Pro Bowl. Possibly Becton if he's fully healthy. Sauce possibly out of the rookies as well. Thank you for throwing that in there. And we got the Buffalo Jet fan with the answer. He says it was Elijah Moore, which really says quite a bit. Although when you think about it, that room was just completely beleaguered with injuries. I mean, it was just smashed with injuries. And he also adds that Crowder had the most receptions, though. So I still think Elijah Moore. I think if he's healthy, if he plays, he's going to be the one that leads the way. All right, Pro Bowlers, ranking them 1 to 10 or 10 to 1, however you want to do it. 1 is the one that we feel like is the most likely to make the Pro Bowl, and then 10 is maybe the least of those 10. Do you want to just alternate? Do our 10s all the way to 1?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do that. And quick, like little disclaimer before I start, because I left off someone pretty notable. And the only reason being was, and it's Carl Lawson. I left him off. The only reason being was like, we just don't know, right? The injury is something like it just keeps coming into maybe he gets off to a slow start. It doesn't mean I don't think he's going to be effective or anything like that. Just, coming back from that injury, I just figured there may be a little bit of a period of time in that beginning of the year where he's not getting the exact same snaps that he might be getting as a fully healthy player later on in the year. So that's my own. I just wanted before someone shouts at me for forgetting Carl Lawson.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I have him lower ranking in my top 10. So there's a spoiler. Who's your number 10?
So my number 10 is Mekhi Becton. So Becton is 10 for me. Reason being is I think he's a phenomenal player when he's on the field. It's a matter of, is he our right tackle, right? Like if he's our right tackle, is there an adjustment period for him, which there probably will be if that's the case. But I think once he gets going, and we saw it his rookie year, I think everyone kind of saw it his rookie year. When he's dominant, he's dominant. So the only reason I had him actually so low is we didn't see him play last year and the potential move for a right tackle. But I think he's a phenomenal player. I just had him at number 10.
Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that, I don't think. And again, there's only 10. I think there's a bunch of candidates for, being considered here. So it's not crazy that we have left anybody off, if you ask me. Mine is CJ Mosley. And it's not, massive disrespect necessarily. He didn't make the Pro Bowl last year. I think that if things break correctly in the way, or not correctly, the way that we hope they'll break, the secondary is strong and the pass rush is good, our linebackers could make more plays than we expect. Having said that, though, we just need, we need that to happen. Specifically the front line. The front line will dictate everything, and if they're not controlling the line of scrimmage, it will impact him. So anyway, I have him as my 10th, and I think that he's still a very, very good football player. It's not really a slight on CJ Mosley. Mm-hmm. Who's your 9?
9 for me is Sauce Gardner.
Alrighty.
Steps in right away. He's going to play a whole bunch, so he's going to have the opportunity. And I always feel like, sometimes, those man coverage corners don't get like the stat numbers and things like that. Maybe the interception numbers are really low. But there'll be a lot of numbers in terms of who he's shutting down, who he's playing. We're going to have to see him play Stephon Diggs twice. So does he get himself in the limelight by having a good performance against the Bills once or twice, whatever it might be? The Tyreek Hill, I don't think he'll follow these guys around, but I think Sauce has a good chance if he becomes potentially what we expect him to be sooner rather than later.
All right, cool. I actually don't have Sauce on my list, but I love it. I think it's great. And he certainly was in consideration for sure. Holy cow. Sauce will have 3 INTs to the house this year. If he makes 3 house calls, we're not going to have a voice anymore. Our voice box will literally jump out of our mouths. That would be incredible, Jim Pock. And I'd be so happy. Christy Marie, she gives me the full list. I love that. Her number 10 was Becton, and Zach is number 9. I actually don't have Zach on my list. Spoiler alert, yet another. I didn't include him, and I'll explain that in a little bit. All right, my number 9 is actually Jonathan Franklin Myers. I think sliding him back to play more on the interior, I think he is a potential surprise player on this team. And I think he's just going to be a disruptor. He is never going to be double teamed if we stay healthy up front. He will never have to face a double team, in my opinion. And I think he wins a lot of matchups on the inside. I think he's just super long, strong, and big. He's just a big dude. So I think he'll be able to use his athleticism to make a lot of plays on the football. So he's my number 9.
Absolutely.
Who is your number 8?
Number 8 for me, probably unpopular, but CJ Uzama.
Ooh, okay.
I wanted to include a tight end in this list, and you try to think about like tight ends across the league as well to see who they kind of got to go against. And there's obviously the Kelseys and the Kittles of the world and things of that nature. But listen, New York market, CJ Uzama comes off the Super Bowl run. He's got a little bit of name notoriety now, more than he did last year. And if he could play similar and make those big plays for Zach from that tight end position, I think as a fan base, I know there's a voting process. I think he'll fall in love with the fan base will fall in love with him, and those votes will start clicking for him.
Yes. And I sometimes am reading while I'm listening to you. Did you mention that CJ's been hanging out with Zach and Barrios and Feeney? So there's some team chemistry building there, which is nice. Not that means that he's going to make the Pro Bowl, but it's just interesting. It's nice. It's nice to see them hanging out, outside of, the required time that they have to spend with one another. Okay, I'm sorry. You just gave me your number 8, right?
Yep,
And now I have to
he
give
was
you
8
mine.
for me.
Okay, I almost skipped my own number 8. I have Carl Lawson. I think barring the recovery, I think he's getting back to football shape. He's certainly going to need to play football though to be in football shape. And that's the thing is like, what's he look like at training camp? So I have him as a number 8. That could be way, way different. And I think you would probably say the same thing. If we start to see, him looking good and looking the part in training camp, I think you can make the case that he pops on pretty much everybody's lists for being a potential Pro Bowler. Who's your number 8? Or you already said number 8. Good Lord, I'm doing terrible with this.
Yep.
Who's your number 7? Who's your number 7?
Number 7, I have DJ Reed. So maybe a little bit lower on some, maybe a little bit lower, but I do think with Sauce Gardner over there, there's going to be a lot of attention over there. I don't think, and right, because you have to play well to make the Pro Bowl, but there is like a popularity contest to this thing. It's not like an all pro type of situation. So I think DJ Reed, he's a little bit, we know him now and we've kind of grown to know him over the last 2 months or so. But kind of this entire process, he was kind of, not at the top of everyone's list. And so I think that potentially just hurts him when you go in terms of voting for the Pro Bowl. Is he going to get the attention that he potentially deserves if he plays well? Because I think he's going to play fine and he's going to be a big addition. It's just a matter of, does he just continue on with that underrated label and doesn't get the notoriety that the play deserves?
Yeah, and you're right. He's going to have to make plays to do that. I don't have him on my list. I feel bad. I feel like maybe I should, though, now that I'm looking at my list. DJ Reed, he's one of my favorite new additions now. After I listen to him talk and after I read more about him, he's awesome. He was talking about the Super Bowl in press conferences today. I don't know if you heard that.
I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, he said, my first year at the 49ers, we were 4-12. And we made some big moves in the draft. He said we made some big moves in free agency, and we went to the Super Bowl. And we were up 10 in the 4th. So he's like, things like this can happen. So I loved it. I love the willingness to talk about it, like that. It's like not some taboo thing to say the word or the phrase Super Bowl if you're wearing the green and white. So, all right, you gave me number 7. It was DJ Reed. I'm going to get a little provocative now. I'm going to say Breece Hall.
Nice.
Is a potential Pro Bowler this year. And I've gone over the reasons on the channel multiple times now. I just think that touches are there. He's going to get at least 15 to 18 touches a game. I really believe that. And I think that, big playability, his vision, the one cut ability, and the explosive long speed that he has. pairing that all up with the three blocking tight ends, or excuse me, the three tight ends that we added, and the Pro Bowl guard, and getting Becton back, that's part of the formula, is having all of these guys be on the football field. If that works out, I think Breece Hall has a really damn good chance to be a beast. Literally, Breece the Beast. Who is your number 6?
So 6 for me is Elijah Moore.
Ooh, we
So
got
Elijah Moore,
bam, bam, bam. We nailed it. Number 6 is our
6.
first. Yeah, it's a match. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, and so obviously Elijah Moore, I see him as a, he's on the doorstep, right? Like it feels like he's on the doorstep of just being, the household name. And not to say like this matters at all, but I'm starting to get back into looking into these like fantasy football rankings for when I have my draft in the summer and stuff. And it's just like, it feels like he's on the doorstep of the stardom that could potentially wind up in him being talked about in, the top wide receivers in fantasy football in, 2023 or whatever it is. So I think he can have a monster year this year. He's going to make big plays. He's going to change games with his ability, either short, intermediate, long, what he could do everything there. So I go with Elijah Moore at number 6.
I will not bang the drum anymore. You did a perfect job. Elijah Moore is my number 6 as well. I'm going to go first on number 5 this time. A name that I almost left off the list, and I was like, this is silly. I got to at least have him on here. Braxton Berrios is a potential Pro Bowler, and I think that he should be somewhere in the middle of the ranking here. Did he make the Pro Bowl? I know he was an all-pro returner. He didn't make the Pro Bowl, though, right?
I don't think he made the Pro Bowl, which is kind of.
But I think he was wasn't he all-pro returner?
He was first team All Pro.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I think that helps him, having that recognition, amongst the
Mhm.
players in the league. So he's certainly not a guy that you look at as a potential offensive Pro Bowler, but I think as a special teams Pro Bowler, yeah, I think that Braxton Berrios should be on the list. And I said it, and I'm going to say it one more time. His return ability alone makes him worth the contract that he got. He is a really good kick returner. So add in all of the other, the playmaking ability that he has. I think that he's a very, very good football player. So he is another one, and he's my number 5. Who do you got?
And I'm sure Michelle's going to be voting for him quite a bit. So he has
You
an
saw
extra
that.
hand. I did see that. That was pretty funny.
Well, yeah, that was funny. She's having a nice time living downstairs. I'm enjoying my space upstairs. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no. 5. So 5, I have Zach Wilson. I have Zach Wilson up there. Reason being is obviously won the quarterback position, and he gets probably dinged a little bit given the other quarterbacks in the AFC. But you kind of look at it also. Chances are two of the best at least the one best quarterback or two of the best quarterbacks in the AFC are going to be going relatively deep in the playoffs. So that gives, the Mac Jones making it his rookie year because it's an alternate type of situation. But I just think Zach, he's as long as he can fix a couple mechanical issues that I don't think were physical. I think they were more mental, him making it up in his own head, rushing for no reason type of mechanical issues. I think if he starts off comfortable, I think that gets him on a roll there. And like we said, they have the pieces around him for an explosive offense. So, he could be the benefactor of some short passes that go for long gains, right? He could be the benefactor of, a good catch at the back of the end zone. Maybe it's Garrett Wilson making, a high point in the end zone for a touchdown. Like he's going to be a benefactor also of the talent that's around him as well. To whereas that wasn't the case last year. So I think he takes a rather significant jump stat wise, just because they were so bad last year. It has to get better. And I think he has the talent to be a Pro Bowl level type of guy at some point in his career. For the New York Jets here.
I hope that, and I'm not, just because he's not on my list doesn't mean that I don't believe too. I would just sad that, there's a lot of really good quarterbacks in the AFC right now. So for this season, I think he's still behind guys like Herbert, Mahomes, Allen, and that right there alone is probably enough. Like those three guys will
Yeah.
probably be they'll be shoe-ins for the Pro Bowl. And
Yeah.
again, it's like
Burrow,
you said.
Lamar.
Yeah, I mean, again, yeah, the list is super long in the AFC. So anyway, that's where I'm going. Apologies for the spam in the chat. I had
Yeah,
made
so
it so that only people who are subscribed could chat in the comments,
yeah.
and I needed to get back to doing that. So sorry about that, everybody who's watching that in the chat. Not something that I want you to have to look at. Let's see here. Sean McAteer says they might use a lot of cover one. He and Whitehead could definitely make the Pro Bowl. Whitehead was the one that I saw in the chat a couple of times actually for the Pro Bowl, and I didn't include him in my list either. All right, number 4, you go up again.
It's kind of weird, and I'm not lying. I promise. Number 4 for me is Jordan Whitehead.
Excellent.
So 4 for me is Jordan Whitehead. Playing in the box, obviously he's going to have to help with the run stops, right? And so you think about potential tackle of loss situations, maybe sacks here and there. He has gotten his hands on a couple footballs, so I think he has the ability to make a ton of plays that wind up showing on the stat sheet. Again, you can't discount the market enough. I know, like, we haven't had a lot of Pro Bowlers in recent years, but we also haven't really had any good players in like recent years. And so I think a guy like Jordan Whitehead will have the ability to put the numbers up that will put him in that New York type of spotlight on a defense that everyone's going to be looking to see how much they improve. He's going to be a leader there. So I put Jordan Whitehead at number 4.
All right, more spam in the chat, and I cannot figure out how to ban this person. They're just too daggone sneaky. Anyway, let's keep moving here. You had said Jordan Whitehead for 4. I got Mekhi Becton at 4.
Nice.
I'm a big believer in Mekhi this year, and I'll continue to bang that drum senselessly all the way through here. I just feel like he is going to bounce back. I think he's angry, and I've said that before a million times. I think that he heard enough hate and people upset with him, and part of it is rightfully so. I do think that he could have done more things to get himself back on the football field. But having said all of that, though, I think he is going to get himself back in gear here. And it's a small thing, but I think that having a child changes people, and I think that it will, motivate him to have the best season of his life. And I think that that's going to be a beautiful thing to watch, is him just wreaking havoc and really playing some really good football. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so confident in Brees, is because of Becton and the bounce back that I'm expecting him to have. So. Wow, the Jets are full of talent. Words I've never uttered. Let's see here. Kind of go through here. You admin on other channels. I might legitimately take you up on that offer. Edward Stewart, if that's something that you'd be willing to do, please email me. Because clearly I need it. The email is actually NYJ Today, the old channel name, at gmail.com. So if you're still watching this, send me an email. I would love to have an admin or two keeping an eye out for the spam. All right, let's keep going here. We did number 4. Number 3, who you got?
Elijah Vera Tucker.
Okay.
Elijah Vera Tucker for me. I think he was very good as a rookie. He gets that second year, that same offense. I know he's got to move to the right side, but he was a pretty versatile player at USC. So I don't see, maybe there's a couple games where he just, has a mishap here and there. But ultimately, I think it's a pretty smooth transition for him, given what he's done in the past. And he can be a 8, 9, 10-year player here in New York if contracts work out and all that kind of stuff. But he's around for the long haul, and he's just a phenomenal player, and he's going to be one of the anchors on this offensive line, and I think he gets that recognition from the fan base, especially because how should I say it, or what do you call them, the analytics numbers draft chart type of people. We kind of all bonded over Elijah Vera Tucker from the very beginning because no one thought it was a good move what we did to get him. And so to see him potentially make a Pro Bowl in year 2, I think he has the talent to do it, and it would kind of be a nice what to the guys that say we should have just stayed put and let fall whatever fell to us.
Yeah. I have him higher on my list than you, so we don't really disagree here at all with AVT. I think he is, and I said it in a video, I think it was about a week ago. I think he might end up being the best player on the team this upcoming season. Like, it's not a guarantee, anything can happen, but I think he has that potential in him to be a really dominant offensive lineman. So there you go. Number 3 for me is Kwoun Williams. I think that the stars are aligning for him. He's in great shape. He's not injured. Hopefully that stays the case. I think that really impacted him last year. I think he had 6 sacks last year and played most of the football games. But I think it started out kind of slow for him, and he wasn't really impactful early on. And I think it was because of that foot injury he was coming back from. So he's healthy. And here's the other thing that's, part of this mentality that I have for him. He's going into a kind of situation where if he has a outstanding football season, he's going to make a lot of money, and it's going to be either via a new contract or a tag. Like, he's going to get paid next year if he balls out. And that's a huge, huge motivator for football players. There's a lot of things that motivate them, but a contract year is about as big of a motivator as it possibly gets. They can make a lot of money, life-altering money, if they just kill it for the next 12 months or whatever it is, So I think Kwoun Williams could have a monstrous season. I don't know about sack production or anything like that, but I just think he's going to be a really, really disruptive player for us. So he's my number 3. Your number 2 is different than mine because I have AVT at number 2, and it's for a lot of the same reasons. So I won't even discuss him. Who's your 2?
2 for me, so is CJ Mosley. So I think we had a pretty big difference there. And you think about CJ Mosley, last year he didn't make the Pro Bowl, right? I mean, he probably had the numbers to do it. I don't think he had an interception last year, but I think he was 4th or 5th in the NFL in tackles. I just look at kind of the pieces that they've kind of put around him. Like I would hope so, right? That the pass rush is going to be better. If Carl Lawson plays a full year, Jermaine Johnson kind of comes along. Obviously they want to rotate a lot of those guys. We're talking about Kwoun Williams having a monster year. If they could create the pressure on the quarterback, I feel like he's going to be freed up a little bit in a sense of, he's obviously going to be the guy that gets everyone lined up, and that's what we need him to be. But corners making more plays on 3rd down, getting in those situations where maybe it's a 2nd and long or a 3rd and medium a little bit more often than a 3rd and short or so. I think what we'll see is a lot of guys making plays around him that winds up loosening CJ Mosley up just a little bit, and he will be around the football like he always is. And then if this defense improves like we think it can improve, everyone's going to see him as the guy that makes the engine go. And so I think CJ Mosley there at number 2. I love CJ Mosley. So, maybe a little bit of a bias piece there too. But I just think without him, I'm not really sure what I would still think of this defense, even with the additions that we've made. Like if you were to take one guy off the defense, who has the biggest effect on it? I think it's CJ Mosley.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'm hopeful, man. I think he can have a big year. I just think that with most cases, linebackers it's kind of like they need other things around them to be able to really do what they, they need other things around them to be able to make plays. And I think if the pass rush gets going, like I think it will, I think it could make a lot of plays. I actually think Quincy Williams could make a lot of plays this year as well. After the running game and also, getting after the quarterback a little bit too. We saw that from Quincy last season in some spurts. Okay, the big fish. We did not mention this player's name, so I think we actually agree, unless you did not have this player on your list. Who's your number one?
No, my number one's Quinnen Williams.
Oh wow, you didn't have. Okay, wow, this is awesome. All right,
Did I miss someone major?
Well, not necessarily. I'm only excited. I'm just excited. That's all. You can go ahead, Quinnen Williams.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll keep this one pretty simple. I think at the end of the year, there's a pretty good chance, I think, that we're saying Quinnen Williams is potentially the best player on this Jets team. And so I think I do.
That would
last
be
year,
big. That would be big.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine. Last year, I was going to write I was doing this whole film breakdown thing on him that I was going to try to put out before the year, and then NFL Game Pass got shut down until however long. But I mean, I thought the leap was going to be next year, and he did play well. He didn't play bad, but I legitimately think there is an all-pro player in there somewhere for Quinnen Williams. I think his ceiling's through the roof. And I'm hoping that this is the year that we end the year and we say, we have one of the better players one of the better young players around the league. And he is marketably different than a lot of these guys that the Jets have on their roster right now.
That's one of the reasons why he faces criticism, and it's not from me personally, because I think that he plays a position that's hard to really shine and be a standout player. But that's one of the reasons why people criticize, because he was the 3rd overall draft pick. And when he came out, he was one of the best players in that draft class. And obviously he was that because he was the 3rd overall pick. But, it's just, I think that there's a lot of potential, as you said, for him to really go off. The point that you made about having some more guys around him on the defensive line certainly is important. Because he will face double teams, unlike JFM, if everybody stays healthy. Those double teams will eventually make their way to Quinnen Williams, but it's not going to be to the high volume that it was last year. I think he was getting double teamed a lot last year, and it should be less. Breece Hall, I think, definitely has a chance at Offensive Rookie of the Year. And my number one, the one that I think, I have people off my list that you had on yours. I have Laken Tomlinson as the most likely Pro Bowler for the Jets, and it's not just because he made it last year. I just think that he's very, very safe bet to stay healthy and to play all of the games. I think that our running game is going to be strong, and I think because he was in the Pro Bowl last year, a lot of people are going to look to him and say, okay, look at all of this stuff that, Laken Tomlinson helped the Jets accomplish this season. So I think he's just one of the ones that's going to be very, very popular in the voting. And it's split, right? The Pro Bowl is split between players, fans, and coaches, or is that something else that I'm thinking of?
No, yeah, it's split. There's the fan vote, and then there's kind of a player coach type of vote as well, I think, which could potentially supersede some fan votes and things of that nature.
Yes. And Matt Morris, there's a couple of players like this that if they have a really, really good season, it changes the whole trajectory of the Jets this season upcoming. I think that LT. Laken Tomlinson is in that conversation. I think that Mekhi Becton is in that conversation. And I think that Carl Lawson is in that conversation. If those guys take, if they go off this year, we are going to be in for a really, really fun season. Those 3 players come to mind for sure. All right. Huge segment there, but that was a lot of fun, actually. Here we go. I saw this comment and people were reacting to it. I saw some content creators kind of criticize here with Mr. Jeff Ulbrich. So here's what he said. Jeff Ulbrich in the press said the Jets are going to limit their defensive linemen to about 30 to 35 snaps per game. I think what he's saying is about on average, they will average no more than 30 to 35. I think that there are going to be players that play more snaps than that. That's just how I'm interpreting it. But there's going to be guys that probably only play 10 to 15 snaps a game. I don't know. What are your thoughts? And Jake, thanks for becoming a member to Jets Today. That's very much appreciated. James, what are your thoughts on that take from Jeff Ulbrich?
I mean, I'm hoping it's not for everybody. Like, we don't want, right? I mean, we just talked about Kwoun Williams. I don't really want him playing 30 snaps in a football game. If he's completely healthy and these guys, guys like him, Carl Lawson will probably be limited for that first kind of stretch there, but a guy like Kwoun Williams, you need him on the field a little bit more than that, in my opinion, anyway. And I get the sentiment, like we saw it last year, they rotated a lot, and so it's nothing technically new. I think it's the fact that he threw a number out there that people think is very low. And maybe he was just kind of ballparking it, not realizing how many snaps guys actually play. But at the end of the day, I think it's fine because I think they're going to rotate a lot like they did last year. And listen, maybe they could be on the field for a little bit less than they were last year too. So maybe that'll help drop those numbers down even a little bit further. But I just think it's more philosophy based, and they're going to rotate anyway. So no harm, no foul for most guys that are going to play.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it, and I think that would be disappointing. Like if they took the best players off the field and they were like, nope, you can only play 30 to 35 snaps. You're at 34 and we're just going to cut you off. I don't think it'll be that hard lined. If somebody's hot, let's just say Carl Lawson has a sack and a half and he's got 30 snaps going into the last 8 minutes of the game. They're not going to take him off the football field. That's not going to happen. So the thing that I read from, I think it was Connor Hughes, and it's something that we already know, he had said this is the philosophy, and it's going to be the philosophy the entire time this coaching staff is together, is they're just not going to overwork these defensive linemen. It is embedded deeply into their philosophy, the foundation maybe even. So I don't care too much, but the scenario that I just drew up, if they don't have these guys in there in key third down scenarios, key downs in the red zone, whatever you have it, they should have the best players on the football field the majority of the time. So that's how I take it. And it's a great question, Sanford. I'm wondering what you guys think about it as well. So if you want to throw that into the comments, I will try to read that. To me personally, I'm not all riled up about it though, because it's not completely surprising to hear it. It's part of what they are and what they believe. So, all right. We have just a little tiny bit of time left here tonight, guys. It will be a shorter episode, and it's not a bad thing necessarily, because we can get to this and then we'll probably wrap it up and save the next Wednesday. We have many topics that we can discuss then, and I'll be live again on Sunday. So if you guys want to talk more then as well, happy to do that. Jorge Gonzalez says 11.5 sacks for Lawson, 7.5 for Quinnen. And he says my surprise guy is Michael Clemens with 6.5. That would be amazing. Marion Barber. Oh, that's too bad. I didn't know he passed away. The former Cowboy. I did not hear that news. And not to pile on here, but Jeff Gladney, former cornerback of the Vikings and current for the Cardinals, he also passed away. Those are devastating losses. Yeah. I don't know the details on Marion Barber. That must be pretty recent because I was just on Twitter before we started. He was such a hard-nosed running back. Do you recall watching him at all?
I do. Yeah, he was one of those. He's got you every so often you see that run where he got like 2 yards, but he did like
Yes.
I think he was on the Cowboys for that. Um, but yeah, I mean, all around, right? Anytime something like that happens, I mean, obviously, I mean that's someone's life. They have family, and it's just a very very difficult thing to deal with, especially obviously these guys are so young. That's I guess lack of a better word, it's just a tragedy all around for something like that to happen.
Yep. And the Jeff Gladney one hits home for me. He had I think he just had his first kid like a
Yeah.
month prior, so it's just all
Jeez.
terrible and really really painful stuff. So anyway, we obviously condolences to those families
Mhm.
and anybody that was a fan of
Yes.
these players. I really loved Marion Barber. He was one of my favorites. He ran very, very hard. So if you're a younger fan and you've never watched Marion Barber, check it out. He was a very, very violent runner. Lots of fun to watch. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's move on to our top 10 Jets predictions. So this one sounds like we're predicting it's not like a hot take segment. I
Mhm.
mean, maybe there are some in here that could be that, but some of mine are very simple, and I'll start it off. I said that the Jets are going to add players to this roster before training camp begins. Like that to me is one of the things that I feel confident predicting, and I believe will happen probably within the next month. I would say by the end of this month, we will have added somebody of significant value. Some people are thinking like, oh, it's June 1st and the cuts are supposed to happen. Like, then maybe they'll sign somebody today over the next couple of days. It's like a long waiting game for some of these contracts and some of these players to sign. So, what's one of your predictions? We don't have to do a ranking or anything.
Yeah, I have a couple like fun ones. I'll use those first, but
Sure.
I tried to think of what's going to be the version of the 2021 Bengals victory, right? What's going to be the 22 version of that?
Oh, that's a fun
And so
one.
I just thought about, like, all right, well, most of these games are probably going to be underdogs, right? But like, who we a monster probably underdog for? So I put that our 2021 Bengals victory in 2022 is going to be we go to Lambeau Field and we beat the Green Bay Packers.
That's a good one. I like that prediction, and I really like that. That could be like a whole segment we could talk about that. Maybe closer when we get to the season. That's a fun one. The game where you're not really expecting anything to happen, and they just come out and they just had such an incredibly fun game to watch. Yeah, the
Right.
Green Bay game will be interesting, and they don't have Devontae Adams. That doesn't mean that we're guaranteed to win, but that's a very, very interesting one. What's going on, King Sam? He's always saying hello to me, so I will say hello back. Uh, Definitely great history in Green Bay. I love that stadium. I've been there myself, and if
Yeah.
you have not been there, you should go to Green Bay at
Oh,
least
have you
one
been there?
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was back when we had Pennington and we had the running back coach, Leon Washington.
Yeah.
Oh, look, the spam is back. Um what was I saying? Yeah, so we went back then and they actually kicked the crap out of them. They beat them really bad and really handedly. Um I wish that I would be there. No, I'm not going to be in Green Bay. I will be going to the Denver game again. So if anybody's going to that one, let's do it. And you and I will be at the Ravens game. We're going to be at the game
Yes.
for the opening week. Okay. Second prediction. I think that it's a common one, but I think Zach Wilson will have a sizable second year leap. I'm not suggesting it's going to be the leap that we saw from Josh Allen from year 2 to year 3, but I think he's going to take a jump that catches people's eyes. And it
Mhm.
might not be right away at the beginning of the season. It might come, in the last 2 or 3 months of the season, whatever. But I think he's going to have some more wow games and some more wow moments that makes us feel like, okay, he's not only does he belong, I think he's going to show that he's taken a big step forward. So that's one of the things that like I said, I'm comfortable predicting that one. What do you got? Number 2.
So my last like kind of fun one, I was starting to try to figure out like certain like really specific things, right? Like, so I think week one, Mekhi Becton makes a play, right? He steamrolls someone, right?
Yeah.
Completely, pancake type of situation. And the fan base goes back to wanting to sell Highway 77 t-shirts, right? Online and stuff. Like, I really do think for Mekhi, there's just going to be that one play relatively early on from when he's back that people are just going to be like, oh my God, we let like Xbox and this and his workouts and his tweets like block our mind to what we actually saw from him, when he was on the field. Because he's been great when he's been on the field. And so I think there's gonna be that one play that sticks out that people are like, okay, everyone take a deep breath. Let's move on. And let's go back to loving this guy like we did, 2
Right.
years ago.
Let's enjoy the show, because that's what it is. When Becton's blocking, it's a show.
Yeah.
And again, I still can't believe people are forgetting it. Like, he was a beast his rookie year. It wasn't perfect, but he had some really big moments. Like, again, people were suggesting that he had Hall of Fame talent coming in, and when he came in his first year, nothing really said to you like he can't hit that level.
Oh no.
So I'm still very much hopeful, and that would be really exciting. And I do agree, like, there's going to be a moment, like you said, early in the game where he goes off on some poor bastard, just completely drives him into the earth. So I appreciate that, Edward, and I'm looking forward to reading your email where you tell me you're willing to mod my channel. I really hope that's the case. All right, let's keep going here. Let's see. I think that the Jets are going to be, and I'm trying to be as specific as possible. I think the Jets are going to be exotic in the personnel packages that we see. It's not going to be, excuse me. It's not going to just be, standard operation with the Jets this upcoming season. We're going to see 2 tight end sets, and Uzama's going to motion, and he's going to be split out wide, like all the way to the outside. It's just there's going to be some really unique personnel packages, as I said, that are going to really excite us. Breece Hall, Michael Carter on the field at the same exact time. Berrios and Elijah Moore on the inside of, in the slot position at the same time. So I threw that out there. I don't know how creative that is, but that's just something that I'm expecting to see, is a lot of unique packages and designs from LaFleur.
Yeah, they have a lot of movable pieces. So you don't really have to worry about, hey, if this guy's out here, we can't do this, right? It's going to be something to where, the personnel can fit, no matter kind of what you're looking to do or who you got on the field, which I think is a positive thing. So yeah, I agree with you there. One of my, I'm not sure if it's a hot take, but I tried to get one out there. So last year, the Jets ran for their total rushing yards as a team. Quarterback, everyone kind of included there, was 1,667 yards, which that's not great. That was bottom 5, 6, 7, or something in that regard. So I have that Michael Carter and Breece, they combine together for 1,600. So they go for about 800 apiece. Or however, I guess if you just split it half and half, but maybe someone has 1,000, maybe someone has the 650, whatever it is. But I think them two together get us close to the mark that we had as an entire team last year, and then the rest from if we get something from Tevin Coleman or Zach Wilson, that kind of boosts that number up. So now we're around that, maybe that 1,900 mark, and it's a marketably different running attack than last year. But big years rushing wise from those two. It's almost a combined effort to get to that over 1,500 to that 1,600 mark from those two.
I would be, excuse me, I thought I cleared my throat earlier and I did not. I think it would be really, really exciting if they were able to do what we all hope they can, which is complement each other and be effective together. Very excited with those two. I'll throw one more out there, and then it's going to be pretty much time to say goodbye because you have your game you're going to watch. The one that I'm going to throw out there is Jordan Whitehead. I think he's going to be a major contributor. I think he's going to be a major contributor in the run defense, bigger than maybe we are counting on. I know a lot of us are talking about the linebacker spot and how concerning it is, and rightfully so. But I think that they are counting on him to play a lot of situations where they may expect a running play, and he'll be in the box. And I think that we should be counting on him to make a big impact in that regard. So that'll be my last prediction, even though it's not 10.
No, for sure. And my last one, and I think it's just a given based on how low the numbers were, but the turnovers forced for the Jets defense, I think, goes much higher. I mean, I'm pretty sure the cornerback room last year only had 2 interceptions, and they both came from Brandon Eccles. And I think Ashton Davis had 1 or 2.
He had 2, yeah. Jonathan Franklin Myers had 1.
Jonathan Franklin Myers, yep. And I think maybe both of Ashton Davis's came off of Tua Tagovailoa, and one of Brandon Eccles's came off of Tua Tagovailoa. So I think between Sauce, DJ Reed, Jordan Whitehead, maybe LaMarcus Joyner makes a couple given his kind of veteran presence. And then maybe, maybe one of the big guys can get one like John Franklin Myers did last year. But I think ultimately the turnovers forced, it's going to go up, I think, so high only because not so high like around the league, but I think so much of an improvement just because of how low it actually was last year.
Yes, and to wrap up the show, I actually had that written down. I said that the Jets are going to more than double their interception total, which was 7 in 2021, right, which is as bad as it gets. I think it was second to last in the NFL, I believe.
Yeah.
I
think only Jacksonville had. Yeah, I think only Jacksonville had less. Yeah,
it's not enough. There are certain things that dictate winning in the NFL, and it's so commonly referred to. It's almost like sarcastic to even mention it. But if we don't create more turnovers defensively, it ain't gonna work. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I in the Sauce Gardner film review that I did for Jets X Factor, I wrote in there, and I can't remember the actual number, but I was trying to make a case for actually picking him because the notion around that point in time was like, we don't really need good cornerbacks. We could just throw anyone out there. They're playing zone, whatever. And when I was looking at it, I was like, all right, so obviously we're really low in the interception category. So we need someone who can get their hands on the football, but also the teams that were, I think every team that made the playoffs except one was in the top 15 in turnovers forced on defense. They were all getting the football back to their offense. And I think the only team that wasn't in there was the Raiders. And so the Raiders were like 20th in turnovers forced. So like, not to say it's a guarantee, but there's a big correlation to forcing turnovers, winning games, i.e. then getting into the playoffs.
It's exactly what you said. It's a correlation. And it's a strong one at that.
Yeah.
To wrap this up, Jorge, yes, if you are coming to Denver, I'm shaking your hand. I'm drinking a beer with you. I would love to meet up with any of you guys if you're going to that Ravens-Jets game or the Broncos-Jets game. Any last things you want to say before we roll out of here so you can watch that Rangers game?
Go Rangers! Everyone enjoy the night, and I got those butterflies now. So thanks for keeping me busy for the last hour and 15 minutes.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, watching with us. We will be back next Wednesday. I'll be live on Sunday. That's it, guys. Thank you so much. Go Jets, and we will see you next time. I'm trying to find my button. Here we go. See y'all. Have a word from my daughter. Peace, y'all.